So in 2017, it actually became part of the Canadian Human Rights Act. We do not have that here in the United States. Um, to have equal opportunity and anti-discrimination legislation prohibiting discrimination against gender identity or gender identity or expression. I didn't know that. That's really dope. And obviously that's under attack in every country. Um, but I was thinking about that, and I'm adding a little content warning to this part of the module, just as a heads up, because um, even though there's been this really significant change in Canada for 7 years, um, and it was in 2013 that in the United States with the DSM, and the DSM really gets around, I know, um, that the that gender identity disorder became gender dysphoria. So if you weren't following this, gender identity disorder was you were you were just crazy, right? So um I could be locked up for wearing these clothes. I could be institutionalized. I could be put on a Thorazine drip, electroshock. Especially if I was underage, like I could, and young people can't actually decide their mental health practices. So I remember the day that changed. I was teaching um, and explaining that gender dysphoria was the stress and anxiety and depression that trans people feel about being um, trans in a cisgender society and world. Um, I want to say that as amazing as that change is, Cameron Awkward Rich, the brilliant poet who recently wrote a great book called The Terrible We, points out that while that change helped a lot of people, it mostly helped white people. It helped middle class people because there's a lot of poor people and people in prisons who require that diagnosis um, still to get support and to get hormones and to get surgeries, especially in the US. And like, who is the we that we're talking about? So I don't like to make big statements about who trans people are, or what we do, or how we do it. But I do want to say that as you're about to, in this part of the module, kind of collect your data, have your experience, engage in trans life by looking at these videos on YouTube, as I'm about to explain. I forgot to issue a content warning, and that is a lot of these videos are going to have really sad things in them. They're going to have anxiety. Um, they're going to have medical information that's wrong. You can comment if you want. Um, Even if it's 8 years old, who cares? You're actually really helping someone who's totally might see that comment. You don't have to too. It's 8 years old, maybe no one will look. But just as a heads up, this might be a lot. And asking, you might watch one where someone's just like, this is what, and then I got a mustache and blah, blah, blah. But people are going to have feelings. And when I talk about gender being relational later on in this module, it's gonna relate to you. So I just want to give you a heads up and make sure you have water and a comfortable space to support you in that. Thank you for watching. Oh, and I should say, the end, I get a little teary. I just want to let you know I'm okay. But it never occurred to me, really never occurred to me, that any trans medical professional, any medical professional would watch these videos. Still makes me teary. So thank you. Hello, hello. And here we go. Module 2, part 2. We are now turning to that old technology in our life, YouTube. Now, why YouTube? What's with trans people and YouTube? You're saying these kids today. Trans people have long relied on social media, long relied on any kind of network technology to find one another. There are relatively less number of us. Scholars like Avery Dame Griff and Oliver Hameson have written amazing things about how trans people find one another. And one of those technologies very early on, as soon as social media started happening, especially was Tumblr. And Tumblr was really decommissioned in a way when NSFW photos were removed, and that included anything with a nipple. Well, actually, a woman's nipple. And then you say, well, are you thinking it? If you're trans, how does the software know what nipple it is? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, right. So these are really gendered algorithms removing images and photos. But what they did was they actually removed a lot of surgery images that were being shared. There was a private site called Transbucket that people could create an identity and log in and share images, and it was trolled. Um, so a lot of those archives have been messed with. NSFW got changed in a way, and Tumblr's put a lot of those photos back. Transbucket has rebuilt itself. But I want you to sit with images. You could say trans people also really use Reddit quite often. I mean, everyone uses Reddit, but trans people use Reddit to share medical information, to share culture information, historic information, where to find one another. They use dating apps like that, like the Lex app, which is text-based as a dating app instead of image-based. Um, uh, but we're really looking at videos, and you say, but I like TikTok. Could I TikTok this? No, because you would never ever sit with someone. I hope I would imagine. I think you hope too, the length of a TikTok and really get to know them as a patient and support them. And I know you guys don't have much time. Thank you for all you do. Again, I adore you. Um, but I know that you need that little bit of time to sit with someone. So this is a time to sit with someone and engage who's very bravely decided to put their stories on YouTube. So um, there have been trans videos on YouTube probably since YouTube started. And when I say trans videos, usually they're transitioning videos. Uh, these are videos that when I started finding them when I was searching for my name, I'm so used to saying a decade ago, but it was 14 years ago. Um, oh, my name is going to high school. I love measuring things like that. That I remember finding these really young people and being like, they don't know what they're doing. They're so brave. They don't know what they're doing. They're so brave. These things go together. Quite often, sharing these incredibly private stories in public, sort of, if you wanted to search for them or find them or wanted to watch them on YouTube, the comments could be quite cruel, and they were also helping each other and saving each other's lives. Um, when I say that they're very racialized, affected by heritage, class, gender, also sexual identities, an example I saw a lot, and no one's still written about these, but these videos are deep in those archives, are watching Black um, trans masculine people, so people who might be assigned female at birth, who then transition and are more masculine or maybe identify as men, say, I went from living a life where I was hypersexualized, where people would grab my ass at a bus stop, to being someone who people walk on the other side of the street from me. Now that changes your whole body, your whole makeup, your whole mind, your health, right? Um, and it all the black trans women telling the opposite story, that and the having to deal with that, right? The having to reckon with that, not something that you just turn off when you're a young person, but you're reckoning with it. And as being an older person and saying, what the hell is happening? Listening to whiteness and the cultivation of white, listening to white trans masculine people saying, I said something at work and this crazy thing happened. Um, People listened. And I said something the next day and they listened again. And hearing the opposite, absolutely, for white trans women, where they start to say things and no one hears them anymore. And the violence of that, right? And how gender works and how there's revelations about gender I hadn't thought before. And usually these are told through medical stories. They're told through, I've been taking testosterone. I've been doing HRT. I'm doing this form of estrogen. I'm doing this much injection. This is how I feel. And it's measured by time. So before we start searching, and we're actually going to go to YouTube and we're going to start searching for videos. And when we do that, I want you to, we're absolutely going to see videos that say detransition. I will point you and the resources that go along with this to an amazing podcast interview with Heron Greensmith, who's a lawyer in the US. And the podcast is called Inform Your Resistance. Um, Absolutely. I will share honestly that I work for the think tank that produced this, but Heron's done amazing research on how far right organizations sponsor a very small number of medical doctors, many of them who are dentists or endocrinologists who have never actually had a trans patient. Most of them are um, saying that transitioning is not safe, that saying transitioning is forced. Um, and this is a lot of the media narrative. And you're also seeing a lot of people who are supposedly many detransitioners. There are not a lot of people. It definitely happens, right? Um, and one of the reasons people don't talk about is, whoa, hormones did things to my body that were unsafe, which I bet you've dealt with in a lot of patients who aren't trans. Uh, so I would like you to think about people who are transitioning. There are many, many more of them. And it's in the high 90s percentage of how many people are happy upon transitioning. I'm one of them. So let's start. So how do we find these videos? And what are you going to do about them? So you're going to go to the internet. And what you're going to look for, now we could put something like the words transmasculine. So someone who is transmasculine is someone who's usually assigned female at birth, intersex, and now they're more masculine presenting. That would be a really current term. The thing we don't want to do is those words get you a lot of TikTok. TikTok has been dumped onto uh, YouTube into these short videos, right? We don't want to find the short videos. So we want to find maybe a little bit something that's older. So we're going to use words, an acronym we don't use very much anymore. F to M for female to male, or M to F. I'm going to use M to F for transition. And I'm going to put 6 months. I want you to put a period of time. I want you to put M to M or M to F. I want you to put transition, and I want you to put 4 weeks, 6 months, whatever. Wow, there we go. This is exactly the earnest sort of video that we're looking for. We're looking for this here. This is Aurora. It isn't an official 6-month hormone, right? This is Aurora. This is a young trans femme person talking about her hormone update. We're not gonna,
They are my most,
and she's gonna talk to us about that, right? Thanks, Aurora Alice with 12,000 subscribers. How old is this video, by the way? 8 years ago. That's exactly kind of the era of the video you're looking for. It's 5 minutes long. Let's listen for a minute.
on the hormone timeline, one of the biggest marks, of course, next to like a year and 2 years, 6 months is when you really start to notice changes, and everything kind of speeds up after 6 months. So everything's kind of been slowing down a little bit.
So what Aurora is telling us, this is just a quick takeaway, is that actually 6 months is when things start happening. And this is knowledge that has been passed around the internet. Aurora did not get this from a doctor. I feel absolutely sure, right? That if Aurora did, she had just an amazing doctor in 2016, right? Maybe that was just the beginning of folks doing that. So this is what people have heard, and they're telling each other, like, oh, I'm at 6 months, so I'm about to start seeing things. This is when things are going to change. So you can start to listen to, like, what are people telling to one another? How are they creating an understanding of one another? How are they creating an understanding of themselves? So given you all this, now you have a selection of videos. Whatever is compelling to you is great. Whatever comes up in your search algorithm is great, right? Find a few of these. I just want you to sit and listen. Make notes. Make notes of things where you're confused, you're shocked, you have questions. Is this right? Is this true? Is this knowledge? Is it like, are they actually helping each other? What did you learn that you didn't know before? What made you happy to see? What made you angry to see? What made you scared to see? How did race play into this? How did heritage? Where are people making these videos? Just just whatever you notice. Just sit with it. How much of a video should you watch? It would be great if you could watch about half an hour of video, minimum of 20 minutes. If 20 minutes hits you hard, you got enough. If you are watching, if they're just kind of not getting into detail, go 30 minutes, go up to 45, and let it be. Just sit with them. And we are going to take those thoughts and feelings, jot down as much as you can, whatever you remember, just take notes. And we're going to write a poem next. I'm so excited to do that with you. I also want to say thank you for watching these videos. Because you might not be trans, but it's usually just us. So I was trying not to do that. My God, the medical knowledge in these videos. You have no idea. Whew. Anyway, thank you. And let's go write some poetry. It's going to be dope.